Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons podcast. It is the gut reaction after the Falcons lose a heartbreaker to the New England Patriots. And frankly, it's the margins. It's the small margins. It's the recurring little things that add up to a big fat L. Even when the Falcons do things extremely well, they get some breakout performances from some of their young players, some of their young veterans like a Drake London. You get Jalen Walker and James Pierce changing the game just before halftime. You get 6 sacks, you get 2 turnovers, but it's the margins, it's the small things that keep rearing up and biting this team. And this is what we talk about when we talk about the overall product of coaching. And I'm not going to just sit here and blame Raheem Morris and blame this, blame that overall. But when you start talking about using timeouts incorrectly, you start talking about getting penalties, delay game penalties coming out of change of possessions or coming out of another penalty, out of a stop clock situation, using a timeout when you don't have to, the poor clock management to end halves. And then obviously the special teams. Now, Parker Romo is going to get a lot of flack for this game, and I'm sure he feels as bad as everybody, and he's worried about his job for tomorrow, as he should be. It's a performance-based game. The special teams goes beyond the kicking. The kicking is just the most visible aspect of it. If you look at DVOA, which is an efficiency metric for offense, defense, and special teams, the Falcons are 30th, and that's up. They've actually moved up a little bit. They're 30th. I think it's the Browns and the Titans. Maybe the Titans and the Saints are the only 2 teams worse than the Falcons. That goes into return games, punt and kick returns, punt and kick coverage, and then obviously field goal kicking. They're the worst. They were the bottom 5 last year, too. This is a recurring problem. It's the small things, the third phase of the game. How many of these games come down to one-score games? Do you trust the Falcons to be able to do the small things well enough in order to win the close games? I think the answer to that is no. This moves the Atlanta Falcons to 3-5 on the year. Okay, that's not the end of the world. They're staring 3-6 in the face next week against the Indianapolis Colts, but a more telling record isn't 3-5. Their record in their last 16, which used to be a full season, is 5-11. 5-11. 3-5 this year. 5-11. They lose next week in a full 17-game season, 5-12 in a 17-game season. Now, you can't say one season to the next, but there's a lot that's still the same here. There's a lot that's still the same. So as we get into this, I want to say hello to some folks that have come in, and I want you to be able to vent, ask any questions you might have. I've got a lot of thoughts as I broke down. I just pushed 1,400 words out on what we learned on falconssi.com. Got that going. I write that as we go, and you can probably tell what my mood is depending on where I'm writing about the game as the game goes on. And I'm thinking as we're going through this, I'm going to have to change everything. There's some things I'm going to have to change. You know why? Because Michael Penix is a different quarterback in the fourth quarter when they are behind than he is through 3 quarters. He's a different guy. That's the guy we saw last year, the drop back and let it rip mentality that we don't see anymore. We only see it in the fourth quarter when they're behind. Why? Why does it take that to push the ball downfield? I know, but I don't know. Why don't they change that? I'm watching this game. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have my first big takeaway. What we learned is the battle of the first round quarterbacks, number 3 versus number 8 last year. The big first round, the big win goes to Drake May. And as the game continues to go along, okay, the first 3 quarters goes to Drake May, and Michael Penix goes in the fourth quarter. Michael Penix has trouble when he is pressured. He is phenomenal when he is under pressure. Does that make any sense? When there are guys in his face, he's having trouble. He moved around a little bit more today, took off and run a little bit more today. That's good. But when there are guys around his feet getting into him, he's struggling. I think the advanced metrics will go to prove that out. When he is under a pressure situation of I need to score with the game on the line, he's fantastic. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating to y'all. So If you don't know, I went to Auburn University. They fired a coach today. I have the Auburn side on SI as well. Oh, I've also got Florida. They fired their coach. I've got the Braves. Coaching change. Is my fourth one coming? Is it coming? Probably not this week. Someone asked me earlier this week when I made kind of a joke about the entire team being day to day. Someone asked me in the comments, and shout out to you, sorry I don't remember your name. Is Zach Robinson day to day? No, but he might be week to week. He might be week to week. What did the Falcons finish with? Going into the fourth quarter, they were doubled up in yardage. And it probably got closer because they put up some numbers in the fourth under pressure when they let Michael Penix drop back and sling the freaking ball. It ended up being total yards 288 to 331. It looks really close. Did it feel really close through three quarters? You know what the only thing that kept the thing close through three quarters was? So it's 2 turnovers, the defense. And we have talked about, and I promise I will get to your comments in here. Let me finish ranting for just a moment. We have talked about that this team would be a hell of a lot more fun to watch as far as excitement goes on offense, especially on defense. Yes, you are going to give up some more big plays when you are being that aggressive. I'll take it. I'll take it. 58-yard play to what was the guy's name who had a career day. Literally, it was the first time he'd ever broken 100 yards in his career. Demario Douglas. They were calling him Pop Douglas. 58 yards. They send 6 and can't get home. D. Alford's in coverage. D. Alford's not to blame there. He's on a drag route chasing a guy across 40 yards across the field. That is, we gambled, we lost. That's not on D. Alford. Later, though, you're able to get pressure with your 2 edge rushers without having to send the house. And you force a fumble and end up getting 7 points out of it right before half. That's the future. The future is I want to beat guys one-on-one and not have to send the entire flock of Falcons, no pun intended, whatever you would call a group of Falcons. I don't even know. Do they have groups? Probably not. So let's say hello to some folks that were coming into that were here nice and early. Darth Magoo, unreal way to lose. The Falcons constantly find new ways to let me down. It's a recurring problem here. It's been a problem for how long? 17 games, the kicking game. It's been unreliable for a full year. This 2 straight games, as John says, and thank you for being a member, John, and be like John and become a member. It certainly helps us out here at the Falcons podcast. The link's in the description to become a member. Be like John. He says 2 straight games for Penix with intentional grounding, an illegal man downfield, missed extra point. Note, I wasn't able to watch the game. How bad was J.D. Bertrand? He was okay. I mean, he wasn't a huge liability. I felt like this team attacked the perimeter more than necessarily over the middle, but when they needed something, they could go to the tight end on little drag routes. JD's listed at 6'1", 235. I looked up his combine numbers. He's listed, he measured at the combine at 6'1", 235. If he's not the smallest 6'1", 235 I've ever seen, my goodness. Ronnie Harrison comes in and blows up a play, reads it, gets out to the flat, blows up a play later. I feel like that was the last we saw of Ronnie Harrison. And then on that same, then he comes off. That was a second down play. Then on 3rd and 6, JD's still out there. Why is JD in there on 3rd and more than 3? I don't know. These are the questions I have. Taking the call to action, Devron Beard has become a member. Thank you, Devron. I appreciate it, helping to support the cause here. And Matt, breaking the ice with us on Super Chat. He says, this team is bad for my health. Romo, smack my head. Can we get a good smack my head on that one? I think it makes sense on that. Romo was a part-time kicker coming in. There's got to be a veteran out there. There just has to be a veteran that's out of work. What's Morton Anderson doing? Think he can connect a point? I'd bet my mortgage that Morton Anderson could come in and chip in an extra point, for goodness sakes. And it's not all on Romo. It's not. It's there should be better than Romo there. And it's not all on Romo. It's 3/4 of ineptitude that lets you fall behind. So it's not all just on Romo. It's the recurring things, the stuff that just the little things. It's death by 1,000 cuts right now with this team. I mean, you get Drake London. What do you finish with? 9 catches, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Y'all have heard me say a zillion times. And if not, welcome. And I appreciate you checking out the Falcons podcast. If you're new here, we do have a lot of new viewers after these shows. If you get one-on-one, you don't have to have 4.3 speed to be a deep threat. If Drake London is one-on-one on the outside and he doesn't have safety help over the top, he's open. Throw it to him. You're either going to get a penalty, an incompletion, a penalty, or he's going to come down with a catch. Sometimes both. Sometimes you get a penalty and a catch, like you did on that 40-yard play in the fourth quarter. That opens up everything else. These teams, they've just said, listen, stop Bijan, stop the Falcons. It's really simple. It was kind of embarrassing. It was. I was embarrassed for Zach Robinson for the things he was saying at his press conference this week. Did they do anything to change? No. In fact, they were actually simpler than we were expected. You mean they did things easier and they still shut you down when they hadn't been able to shut anybody down all year? The Miami Dolphins? Push them back. Drake's a deep threat. Big receivers. One of my biases in scouting is I like the big receivers. This is why. If you can throw an accurate ball, in the vicinity, he's open. Big guys are always open. You could tell his basketball background came into play. He had 3 box out rebounds for touchdowns today. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Jacob, he's ready to be done with Zach Robinson. I don't think that you're alone in the sentiment, and I don't think you'll find a lot of Zach Robinson backers out there right now. Trey, I feel he says just remove him from the game. John, again, 6 sacks, 2 takeaways, and this still happens. Adam, appreciate you coming in. New and embarrassing ways to lose. The Rams love it. Yeah, the Rams do, because the Rams are getting a better draft pick next year. But again, would you use 15 on James Pierce next year if he was coming out in the draft? Probably. And Xavier Watts, the trade itself wasn't that bad. I see guys that were out there, the Clemson guys, Peter Woods, was it TJ Parker? It's top 10. I don't know. I think the trade itself wasn't that bad because the players that you're getting are going to be worth what you paid for them in Xavier Watts and James Pierce Jr. But it's going to make for a pretty crappy March and early April when we're usually doing draft content. I tell you that much. Adam says at least the concession stands are good. Sam, good to see you. This team is maddening. It is maddening. You can't. This is the kind of game, just like the 49ers, that it wouldn't be so maddening if they had taken care of business against Carolina and the Miami. You switch those two, you get those 2 wins, and you're sitting there, what? That's 2 extra wins with the 2 losses anyway. Instead of 3-5, you're 5-3. You're 5-3 with losses to the Buccaneers, the Bills, and the Buccaneers, Bills, and Panthers. Or not Panthers, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, you're 5-3. And you just lost the Patriots. That's the team I'm thinking of. Duh. Okay, so be it. You're right in the hunt of things. You're right in the thick of this thing. You're 5-3. Instead, you lose to a good team on the road. It happens, but you didn't take care of business when you should have taken care of business. That's what's so maddening. And again, it's the fine margins. NFL is 1-score games. And I ask you again, do you trust this team to win to operate in the fine margins of clock management, third down efficiency on both sides, turnover margin, penalties, and special teams? Those are 5, the big 5 right off the top of my head that win in the margins. And all that comes down to the coaching in there. And Christian Smith, maybe we should draft a kicker in the 2nd round. It is a high priority, and this isn't really a joke. You might be 5-3 if you had Matt Bryant or Morton Anderson in their prime kicking for this team. Adam, so after 45 years, the pain and misery continues. I'm so sick and tired of it. I get you. I get it, brother, for sure. Robbie, he's ready to be done with all of them. And Trenton, thank you for being a member. He says it's been a few weeks. Good to see you back. Terry, also a member. Thank you. Appreciate you for being here and checking in. Austin, Georgia Bullies. It's nothing new with this coaching staff. Primordial Reflection. He said, I'm glad I didn't watch this week. Hey, listen, it was a good game. I mean, it was. And like I said, if you had taken care of business, if you win the games you're supposed to win, I know that's a big statement, but if you win the games, they're 0-3 as favorites. They're 3-2 as underdogs. You win the ones you're supposed to win, at least most of them, then this isn't so painfully frustrating, other than the fact that you lose again because of the stuff that's so obvious. Can't play special teams, can't kick the ball. That might matter. Hey, you just blew a timeout. You might need that. Those things. That's what makes it so tough. B-side rap reviews. Scott, you're going to need a bourbon sponsor in addition to the coffee sponsor to survive this season. My friend, I have to count. I'm like 28 years sober now. And no, they won't drive me to drink. Drive me to turn them off. That's what they do. I know. I appreciate it. I get it. I get the sentiment for sure. Jason Greenway, we out Falconed the Patriots, then we Falconed. Yeah, that was, again, pressure tells, right? Drake May's still a young quarterback. Ulbrich started mixing up the blitzes a little bit. And I tell you what, the underneath stunt from the left side was getting home, man. Brandon Dorless, there's a positive. We're going to hit on these two. Some of the we're not going to be all negative. We're going to talk about some of the positives because this was a phenomenal effort by some of the players on this team. Brandon Dorless looked like a star out there. And you know who's missing? Zach Harrison. I cannot wait to get Zach Harrison and Brandon Dorless back on the field at the same time. Dorless came around on a stunt. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Man, that's a month for most Falcons defensive linemen typically. And Zach Harrison's been the best Falcons defensive lineman of the bunch. Drake London, huge game. John Robinson as a receiver, my goodness. He made a catch, a little button hook to the right in the seam where he went up one-handed in traffic and brought it down. And all I saw, because he was completely covered up, was the hand come up and brought down. And I said to myself, that had to be Pitts. You see things that only certain people can do. You see it a lot in basketball. You're like, oh, I don't need to know who that was. There's only one guy on the court capable of athletically, physically capable of doing what that guy just did. One-handed, comes up and gets it. That's a 5'10" running back. I thought was a 6'5", 86-inch wingspan tight end. Bijan. What a game from Bijan. Kyle Hinton coming in and doing a job. Now, to be fair, Matthew Bergeron has not played that well this season. So him going down wasn't necessarily a huge killing shot that it could have been. Zach Robinson made some adjustments. That Chazon, how do you pronounce his name? I'll have to do a sort by sacks. Kaylavon Chason was killing Jake Matthews early in the game. Made an adjustment, brought him some help over there. Didn't hear his name again until he had an illegal hands to the face in the second half. There were some really good things in here. And then Corey says it was a fun game to watch. And Keith says, just woke up. How do we play overall? Frustratingly inefficient through 3 quarters on offense. Big plays for and against on defense. So it was fun. And Drain, I know you've had enough. This coach needs to be fired ASAP. Zach Robinson, there are no moral victories. No, I'm not saying there's moral victories. Again, you can hear it in the tone of my voice. You can hear in everything that this is not a moral victory. This is systemic, is what this has become. It's systemic. It's what a 5-11 team looks like when they play well. That's what this team is right now. Eileen, mistakes, more mistakes. Good to see you. Brecken settles on Facebook. So we should have addressed the kicking situation in the offseason. Yeah, he brought in one guy who's never kicked in the NFL as competition for Young Waku. Now, he has got a monster leg. Lenny Craig, monster leg, no doubt about it. In baseball, when you hear guys hit and you're like, oh man, it just sounds different coming off the bat. You can hear him kick the ball out there.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we can calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
I'd give him a shot. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? What do you have to lose? Keith, thank you for being a member again, my friend. I don't trust the Falcons to get off the bus without tripping and falling. And Obi, another member, thank you, sir. He says, man, we're not a good team. I'm frustrated. Michael Gamage, this is one of my takeaways also. Michael Grimmage, I'm sorry. I went to high school with a couple of Gamages. Go ahead and be sellers at the trade deadline. As one of my final takeaways in there, I look in the third quarter. One of the products of not being able to convert first downs, and the Falcons couldn't till the fourth quarter when they were just throwing the ball, is you get less plays. They had like 40-something plays last year. If you have less plays, it means the second teamers don't play much, i.e. Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier finished with 2 carries for 6 yards. 2 carries for 6 yards. And I think the 6 was generous. I had it 2 for 5, but it was officially 2 for 6. What did he do last week? 4 carries for 4 yards versus Miami. 4 carries for 16 yards versus San Francisco. Loss, loss, loss. 3 straight losses. It's not on Algier. It's just again, I use Charlie Warner as a barometer. If Charlie Warner's getting lots of snaps, the Falcons are probably running the ball successfully, and the Falcons are winning. If Algier and Warner are not in the game, they're not running the ball successfully, and they're losing. Trade Tyler Algier. Everybody that is calling about Breece Hall should be on the phone with Fontenot right now saying, what do you want for Algier? Probably a 5th or a 6th would get it done. Do it. You're not going to get a comp pick. You're not going to re-sign him, and you're not using him. Absolutely. There's no reason for Tyler Algier to finish this season with the Atlanta Falcons. Love him. I'll wear my Angry Run shirt from here until it wears out, which I'll probably wear out before it does. I would absolutely be sellers, and Tyler Algier would be one of the first ones to go. Keith, he's got a question. I don't have the answer for you. He says, do you think Ryan Grubb could call plays better than Zach? By default, I'll say yes. I don't know who that is. Apologies. The O-line, what did it do? The O-line was okay. They weren't great, but they were okay. And again, when you're put in predictable situation, the O-line's going to struggle. When they come out and say, you're not going to run the ball on us, and you try and run it at them, you're not going to be successful. You have to have balance. You have to dictate to the other team. If they're dictating to you, you're in trouble. If you are in predictable situations, 3rd and 10, your offensive line is going to struggle. If you're always running the ball on 1st and 10, the offensive line might struggle. It's a little bit different in there. Situations can be predictable, but then play calling can be predictable. The Falcons, unfortunately, have been in both right now, which is going to make everybody on the offensive line struggle. But it was nice of Zach Robinson to call out the offensive line for not being able to find the right assignments. Like I said, his press conference this week, I was embarrassed for him. It was everything we do usually works. It didn't this time because they didn't do it right. Oh, my goodness. It was bad. The press conference was bad. Michael Baxter, good to see you. He says, good afternoon, Scott, and everyone on Falcons SI. Thank you, my friend. MyBox Sports, good win, brother. I'm happy for you. The Patriots were in a worse situation more recently, and they're 7-2. They're 7-2. Good for you. Darius, I think this one might actually come true for you. Special teams still horrendous, Terry. Yes, they are. Talking about Romo, talking about Robinson, they might be left in New England. Courtney says, Scott, why on God's green earth is Zach Robinson calling a pass play with a 2-minute warning approaching and momentum with the running game. Why is Raheem so bad at clock management? I don't know. You're at 2:03 and they got the ball back at 3 minutes. You missed that field goal. You missed the extra point. The defense steps up in a big way. Golly, you want to talk about positives? If you're watching this, you're probably not brand new to the Falcons. This isn't your first season doing this. How many times have you seen the Falcons just fold up shop after something like that happens? Not come out with their hair on fire and force a 3 and out and get the ball back with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Man, that was money from the defense. Money. So good. And then they're punting. I understand you're 4th and 20. Better question here, Courtney, is also, why is the ball going to David Sills on 3rd and 20? Really? If they've got double coverage on Bijan, Drake, and Kyle, David Sills shouldn't have anybody near him. Missing in action? How about Drake Mooney? Did he have a catch today? Darnell Mooney. 1 catch, 15 yards on 2 targets. 14 targets to Drake, 10 to Robinson, 7 to Kyle Pitts, finished 4 catches and 38 yards, and 1 target on 3rd and 20 in the 4th quarter to David Sills. Couldn't throw it to Casey Washington because he was inactive. My goodness. At least James Pierce was making plays. Not just Jalen Pierce. This might have been Jalen Walker's best game. Jalen Walker was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. And he was missed in the last couple of games where he's been out. Let me say hello to some folks that have come in with some supers. Devron right now is our only new member. Be like Devron. Become a member of the Falcons podcast. Remember, emotional equity. Raheem equals, and he's got the clown emoji. And remember, stats are for losers. Stats are for losers. 5 and 11 in your last 16. The stats are for losers. Remember that. Michael coming back over on this side. Are you on YouTube and Facebook? You the man. Says, what will it take to fire the coaching staff? It's going to take, it can't just take losing. It's going to take Arthur Blank saying enough is enough and having the balls to pull the trigger early on a coach who's been there a year and a half, who's now 5 and 11 in his last 16, that opened up his press conference saying, we have a quarterback now. If Arthur Smith had a quarterback, this job might not have been open. What is he, 11 and 14 now in 2 years? That's not so bad. 5 and 11 is. And when you take over a team that is a quarterback away and you get 2 of them, Dan Quinn made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Sean Payton made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. The Broncos and Commanders were both considered worse overall rosters than what the Falcons had last year. Interesting. Larry coming in again. Thank you, Larry, for the super chats. He's got 2 of them in here. Why are Mike Hughes and D. Alford always behind the wide receivers? I don't know that they're always behind. And again, on Larry, on that 58-yard play, that's not on D. Alford. D. Alford's got his problems, but that was early. It was first. That may have been early second quarter, but in the first, they couldn't tackle anybody either. I wrote that up. It's in my write-up on what we learned. That's not on D. Alford. Guy lines up in the slot and runs a drag route 40 yards across while you send 6, and there is nobody between you and that guy. You're toast. You're absolutely toast. That's a one-on-one type of play in a camp setting, in a 7v7. I mean, in a 1v1 where we always say, hey, if you can get anywhere near the receiver, you're doing a good job. You've got no chance. I got to cover the whole damn field, and he's got 40 yards to just get inside and run on me. I'm done. It's not on him. But then the guy breaks 2 or 3 more tackles. The tackling was terrible to start. 3 points in the second half, though. Ulbrich made some adjustments. The Falcons falconed up in a good way. They manned up and got after it on defense. They absolutely did. Beasley, this feels like a newer man to the super chat. Beasley brings in a super chat and says, JD Bertrand, just shake my head. And again, I've called this an organizational failure that JD Bertrand is out there. He was out there for more snaps than any other player on either the Dolphins or the Falcons last year because he played all but 1 snap on defense. There were a bunch of them. And then he played 12 special team snaps. So he was on the field more than any other player. if you were running through your starting 22 and said, okay, let's rank them, where does JD Bertrand come on that list? 21, 22? And he's the player that's on the field more than anybody? Isn't that backwards? Doesn't that feel backwards? It feels backwards to me. It feels backwards to me. Thank you, Beasley, for the super chat on there. Let me see here. I want to go back through some of the, oh, here comes another super chat. So I'm going to grab Maurice here real quick. Maurice, and he's a member. Look at this, doubling down on this. Thank you, Maurice. He says, I feel like we get penalties at the worst possible time and we miss field goals at the worst possible time. We need coaching that could get this team to play consistently without all the mistakes. And that's the key, Maurice. And that's why the New England Patriots are 7-2. Are the New England Patriots world beaters? Are they your typical, this team's going to finish 14-3. They're a superpower. They've got the worst schedule in there that in the NFL. They've got the worst future schedule in the NFL. They're susceptible to being beaten by a good team. But how many good teams are in the NFL right now? This feels like a team to me that's going to have a really shiny record, but is a year away. The New England Patriots. One more year, get some people excited to play with Drake May, Mike Vrabel, get some free agent money out there, splash some cash, get another group of rookies in there. I feel like they will be like a number one seed in the first game out against a legit playoff team. I mean, I don't see them beating the Broncos, the Chiefs right now. Maybe the Colts are, we don't know who the Colts are. I don't feel like they're in that level yet, but they're a year away. I feel like they're a year away and they're winning by not doing all the things that the Falcons are doing. They line up for a kick. You feel pretty good that it's going in, right? It's going in. They limit their penalties. They limit their mistakes. They had two turnovers and were able to survive them. And their quarterback is really good. Their quarterback's really good. Josh McDaniels is one of my least favorite sports personalities out there. Has done a really good job with this team on offense. And they're the opposite right now. You line up man for man. Who are you taking? Who are you taking over Kyle Pitts, over Bijan Robinson, over Drake London for skill players over there? You're not. The Falcons' offensive line is beat up, and the Patriots' offensive line is probably better right now. That makes a difference. Makes a difference for sure. Matt coming in talking about his padded helmet looks so stupid. Love your show, Matt. Thank you for being a member and for the super. And when I saw the padded helmet on Ronnie Harrison, I'm like, yes, just swap him out. Keep the helmet out there. I don't care. I don't remember seeing him again. I'll have to check snap counts. We'll do that in the morning as I go back through this again. We'll deep dive into a little bit. This is a gut reaction. This is an emotional show. We get a little bit more analytic tomorrow. Y'all know me better enough. I get fired up anyway. But yeah, when I was like, all right, Ronnie Harrison, you learned. No more Bertrand. No, there's Bertrand. Damn it. The Falcons aren't man for man on defense, one of the better defenses in the league. I don't think so. I think they've got a couple guys out there that are just guys at best, and they're playing at a top 10 level overall. They're playing well above expectations on that side of the ball. The other side is exactly the opposite. The other two phases of this game, well below expectations on that side of the ball. 23 points feels like a breakout game. It's still not. 23 points. Let me see where, if I look up season leaders on team stats, and I go to offense and I go to scoring, 23 is still, it's behind the Los Angeles Chargers, and it looks damn near middle of the pack. It's mediocre. You spend 4 top 10 draft picks and top 10 draft cycles on the offensive side of the ball to be mediocre. Number 4, number 8, number 8, number 8. 4 years in a row. And you've got a bunch of alignment on second contracts and a bunch of money. A couple injuries there, I get it. But you're mediocre. Part of the problem is your depth at wide receiver has gone. Darnell Mooney's, he's on the back of a milk carton this year. You'll save some money on him because he's toast. You don't You've got a club option with him. No way is he back next year. 700 yards from Ray McLeod. He's gone. Who's stepping up in their absence? Kyle Pitts has stepped up a little bit. They're force-feeding the ball to Bijan. Tyler has been MIA the last 3 weeks. Tyler Algier. Painful. Michael says, we need a playoff or championship experience coach. Those are hard to come by. Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris came from a Super Bowl. Those are hard to come by on that side. What, are you going to get Andy Reid because he wants a new challenge? Those are definitely hard to come by. And you find out, remember, I don't want to retread. Well, if you hire a coach with experience, he's been fired. So it is tough. There is no right way to do it. I think there's some good coaches that have run their due course. I think Mike Vrabel is one of those guys. Who's the guy who was at Jacksonville recently? He I'm drawing a blank, but I thought he was a good coach. He flamed out down in Jacksonville. There's no right way to do it, but trying to hire people who fit the culture, who feel comfortable, who won't ruffle any feathers, pun intended that time, that's not working. The culture is broken. You got to fix it, Michael. You need a playoff championship experienced coach. Those are hard to come by, but you need somebody that's not afraid to come in and change things, to have some accountability. It's the NFL. I've got contracts. I don't necessarily need a player's coach. I need somebody that's going to get the best out of my guys. That's what they want. That's what they want overall, is to be put in position to succeed. It doesn't matter if we all get along great and there's a kumbaya culture at Flowery Branch. If you're losing, that's not going to last. Here upsets the culture, and I'm pissed. 8 straight losing seasons, that might get upset. Okay, you could use some of that upset. Matt says, who would you want for our next head coach? I don't have the right answer for that one right now. Normally you look at often the reflexive action is offensive coordinators from good offenses. The problem is a lot of those right now, I don't want Josh McDaniels as a head coach. No way, no how, not ever, ever, ever. He'd upset the culture. Talking in circles there. I've seen him be head coach twice. No thanks. He can be an offensive coordinator and he can stay there. But young up-and-coming guys, you got one of those from Sean McVay. The problem is a lot of the best teams, their head coaches are their offensive coordinators already. So where do you go? Well, do I go? Who's Shane Steichen's number 2? Well, Shane's the one calling plays out there. Shane Steichen's head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, who's worked wonders. Oh, I know who makes a lot of sense, y'all. And it's probably been said in the comments. What about Clint Kubiak? Clint Kubiak's the offensive coordinator for a defensive coach up with the Seattle Seahawks, who was doing very well with Sam Darnold. He's going to get some offense. He's going to get some interviews. I'll be a little surprised if he's not a head coach in 2026, unless there's something in his background that I don't know about. I look at Clint Kubiak. Corey Carter says, we need a fullback and a power run game for 25 for Algier. You need to get some first downs and you need to run more than 60 plays, and more than 45 plays, and you can't be playing from behind all the time. Bijan's a much better receiver. I think we saw Tyler in there some in protection to do some protections. But you gotta, they go hand in hand, Corey. You've got to have some. You got to be able to push the ball downfield to loosen up guys that are just stacking the front on Bijan. Falcons haven't been able to run the ball lately. Well, they're not throwing it past them either, and that's why. And it's so frustrating because we see them do it. We saw them do it last year in 3 shootout games. We saw Michael Penix let it rip. We're like, okay, we're going to see more of that this year. And then they come out and it took 3 games to throw the ball beyond 10 or 15 yards. Why? I don't know. I'd rather have them throw 55% and push the ball downfield for more, less high completion throws than all this underneath stuff that isn't getting it done. Corey says Harrison had a missed tackle today. Yeah, he's not alone in that one. There were lots of them. Kelvin says that PAT is 100% on Romo. If you were telling me to stop, as far as that goes, I was saying that the loss isn't on Romo, 100% on Romo. Besides that, the PAT just would have tied the game, right? So I'm not saying that the loss is 100% on Romo. PAT would have tied it. And again, there's a lot of stuff that goes into these games that could have changed the way they went. So, along the way, it came down to that kick. And trust me, I don't want him back. But if I'm a coach, I'm looking at 50 different things that could have been done differently. I think it's disingenuous to just say, oh, if this guy was the kicker, the game would have been won. Maybe not. Maybe not for sure. Let me get back to here. Let's see real quick. I'm going to scroll back down a little bit. I'm going to start at the bottom and start working my way back up to the top. Nick Wolf, I see feels like a newer face. He says, Atlanta, go get a wide receiver at the deadline. Speaking of what's hard to come by, those guys are hard to come by. Wide receivers. And again, the problem is there's too many other teams looking at wide receivers. And the Falcons, well, wouldn't a wide receiver, that guy got had for a fifth. Yeah, the Falcons don't have many picks. They may have offered a sixth. Someone else can offer a fifth and a future pick. Falcons don't have a lot of draft picks to go out there and make trades. And would it matter at this point? Do I want Terry Fontenot giving up another pick, even if it's a day 3 pick, for this team that's 3-5 and 5-11 in their last 16 games? Do you? I'm not answering for you. I don't know that I do. I'm right now I'm leaning towards the gather picks while you can. This season is flushed. Fire everybody and start with a new coaching staff, new general manager. You got to have a clean sweep there. And you've got a pretty good nucleus in place already. Is it one player away? Man, the culture on this is the culture is broken, man. It really is. Let me see. AJ, he says, so at this point, I have a hard time believing that Raheem and his staff are back next year. Many guys interview, but I'm absolutely calling Ryan Day or Kalen DeBoer at Bama. Ryan Day's at Ohio State, and Elise to interview. I get real worried. The same reason I contradicted myself, because I got McDaniels and Joe Brady mixed up with their teams with all that red, white, and blue up in the Northeast. Power program coaches, it's a hard transition. Pete Carroll did it. Not a lot of people are able to do it. I can't out-recruit you in the NFL. The guys I like are like coming from like the MAC, where they have to coach on that. Ryan Day has been excellent at Ohio State, but that's more of running a program than it is the X's and O's. And I've got to out-coach in the NFL, so I think that one's tough in there. And Halsey, no way. No way, Josh McDaniels. No way. He's 0 for 2, and not just 0 for 2. He's a bad 0 for 2. He got like a draft pick stripped away from the Denver Broncos. And again, 50-50. Hell, I'd take 50-50 on college guys if that was the case right now. But I'd be real hesitant to go with guys from power programs like that, because they can out personnel people for 10 wins. Ohio State, a bad season for Ohio State is 10-3. And that's because it's Ohio State. You can be a bad coach at Ohio State and go 10-3. So that's where I would be on him. And frankly, it's hard to compete if the guys like, we see Kirby Smart in here, y'all. I know Kirby is born to be a college coach, and the money's going to be about the same. Why would he want to leave? Why would Kirby? Ryan Day might. I don't know his situation as much, but Kirby belongs at the University of Georgia on that one for sure. Oh, let's see. AJ, I'm going to answer this question too. Scott, are there any guys in the NFL that excite you right now? I mean, Shane Steichen. I love what he's doing. I couldn't think of many. Wes Phillips from Minnesota, maybe. I'd go Clint Kubiak. Again, Clint Kubiak is somebody I'd be real interested in learning more about. Now, listen, I don't know enough about coaches all around the NFL to say, this is my guy. I don't know. Again, what I see is very high level. Offensive coaches get interviews for head coaches. That's how it works if they're successful. Clint Kubiak is doing a good job up in Seattle right now. So that's where I would go. Deshaun, good to see you. He says, this is pathetic. At this point, it's time to scrap the coach and the GM. There will be people who will, I don't think there's a lot of people on the Raheem Morris bandwagon right now. There will be people who will still go to bat for Terry Fontenot, and I understand. I do. But I would go for a clean sweep on this. Typically, you get the general manager will survive a coaching change, not two. And if I'm 5 years into my job as general manager without a winning season, what ground do I have to stand on to say, look at all these great things I've done? If this team, the best record I was able to put up in 5 years was 8-9, that's where I am on that one. Yeah, I don't think Mike Bobo is going to get it. Where's Monken? Todd Monken, is he up at up? And that's where you want to go hunting, is go look at defensive head coaches and look at their offensive coordinators that might not necessarily have Tom Brady at quarterback. I don't want Charlie Weiss. I don't want Josh McDaniels. Joe Brady with Josh Allen makes me a little nervous on there. But Todd Monken, I know, has been successful on multiple levels. And I think one of the keys in here is, can you surround yourself? It's not even one of the keys. This is very understated. This is obvious, but we don't pay it enough attention, I think. It's who you surround yourself with. Going with two rookie coordinators when you are, in essence, a rookie head coach. You hadn't been a head coach in 20 years, and Raheem Morris goes with two rookie coordinators. That's backfired in a big way. We looked up Mike Smith, as a defensive head coach, first-time head coach. He had two guys as his quarterback coach and his offensive coordinator who ended up coaching Matt Ryan, who were former head coaches. That's who he put on his staff. Two former head coaches were on his staff. He surrounded himself with experience, and he's the winningest Falcons coach of all time. Coming in and putting two rookie coordinators out there has backfired in a big way for Raheem Morris, and it could cost him his job. It really could. And Ken, I like your attitude here, Ken. This is another crap year, no first round pick, but I do like our new two number ones this year. Yeah, I mean, you have buyer's remorse on James Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watts on that trade right now. I'm pretty happy with the personnel on there. Well, Scott, isn't that reason enough to keep Terry Fontenot? Yeah, I've also said that it may have been too little too late. You wait until year 5 to address the defense. You wait until year 8 or 9 to address the offensive line, Thomas Dimitroff. It's too little too late. Caleb McGarry and Chris Lindstrom were guys that should have been picked 5 years before. It was too late. Finally addressing the defense, whoever's coach and general manager in 3 years is going to say, thank you very much. I got Jalen Walker. I got James Pierce. I got Zach Harrison. I got Brandon Dorlus. I got Ruka Roro. I got Xavier Watts. Feeling good about this. Might be too late. Took 5 years to address the defense. Not good. Not good. Let's see here. Should Jeffrey, I'm gonna flash this just so I show your name, but I can't leave that up there. Should change rise up? An Atlanta sportscaster said it best. We have no receiving core other than Drake London, which is crazy, with the season that Ray and Darnell Mooney were coming off. But you're right. And there is Drake London and then crickets. 5th round pick with, 10 career catches, and Casey Washington, some practice squad guys. Robbie Red, a couple of these have come in already, and I need to get back to these. They do light up for me, and I'm afraid I did miss it, so thank you for this. Robbie right here. Grade Pennick's performance so far. Need a wide receiver too. Thank you, Robbie. Let me go back into my supers. I was hitting some members and some other comments here. We're at 50 minutes. We'll probably call it a day here soon. Greg Pennick's performance, need a wide receiver too. For a first-year starter, I think he's, a B. For a NFL quarterback, I'd probably give him a C. He's been, and this is not like how media outlets grade people, where they won't grade anybody below a C- unless they've totally had a problem. A C is average. Okay. I'd say he's about a C. I think when he is, I said at the beginning of the show, when he is pressured, he struggles. He struggles with accuracy. His footwork gets away from him. The ball goes away. I don't think he makes the best decisions. When he is under pressure in pressure situations, like I need a touchdown with 2 minutes left on there, and he drops back and doesn't think. It's almost like Nuke LaLoosh. Don't think, meat, just throw. When he drops back and lets his instincts and his talent take over and he just lets it rip, he is freaking awesome. The problem is you're 3 quarters into really piss poor play, and it's not all on Penix. Quarterback play is a whole thing because I would fire Zach Robinson. I can't say that Michael Penix has been spectacular and then say fire Zach Robinson at the same time, right? They all go together. The wide receiving core has been below average. Michael Penix has been okay. The situation he's been in has been below average, and they've had injuries on the offensive line. So I would give, as a first-year starter, I would give Michael Penix a B. As taking that out of consideration, and I'm grading all the quarterbacks, I just say it's probably a C is where I would be on that one. Michael Baxter says, I want Todd Monken as a head coach. That makes a lot of sense too. Again, where can you look for head coaches? Look at defensive head coaches and their offensive coordinators that are calling plays. Those guys get jobs quickly. And I think that counts. I think he's up at Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure. Again, I don't know the rest of the league as closely as I know the Birds. I do know the Birds. Final boss, Emperor Ray Mavia. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the super coming in. Feels like a newer name, the final boss Emperor. I'm just going to call you Roy for short, okay? I think I called you Ray. I don't have my glasses on. He says, Roy, apologies. He says, who do we blame, Arthur or Raheem? Unacceptable. For this game, there's several to go around. I could say Parker Romo. I can say Marquise Williams, a special teams coach. I can say Raheem Morris. For the overall state of the Atlanta Falcons, it's Arthur Blank. I mean, 8 straight losing seasons. You're 3-5 after week 8. And one of the things I get frustrated, you hear me say that, right? They've had a bye. It's 3-5. Wasn't Storm Norton week to week in the summertime? We're in week 9. Where's Storm Norton? Where's Troy Anderson? I get so tired of the injury BS. Just give us an honest answer for once, for God's sake. Wouldn't that be nice? Storm Norton was day to day in the summertime. Oh, yeah. Could be out 3 months. Troy Anderson. No, we let our brains use Troy Anderson. He can't stay on the field. The body language and the way Raheem's talking about Troy Anderson, I don't know if we'll see him at all this year. But that gets frustrated. The state of the Falcons is on Arthur Blank. Game to game, it's on Raheem Morris. It's on Raheem. If you're not going to change anything in the way you do, what do they call about the definition of insanity? Have you heard Zach Robinson step up and say they needed to do things a little different? Oh, I came down to the field to call plays. Calling the same plays. Calling the same formations and the same plays out of the same formations, and everybody knows it, including those 11 guys over there. No, the offensive line were blocking the wrong people. Well, Jesus Christ, man, whose fault is that? We're in week 9. Whose fault is that? Oh, there's the big side. Nick and I used to have we called it the side jar. Anytime we went and talking about one of these teams, we had to put $1 in the side jar. It was we were getting rich out there. Want to get a couple of your he is in Baltimore. Thank you, John. I thought so. And Double T coming in saying Penix doesn't throw into his passing. I think you mean like step into his throws. He doesn't necessarily have to. He's got such a wicked arm that he can get velocity without being set and stepping in and throwing, but his accuracy does suffer for sure. A little bit on that. The Panthers are better right now. I'm not arguing. What I haven't looked at scores today beyond the Falcons, and I saw the Steelers and Colts. Colts had the ball down 10 with 4 minutes left. I haven't seen a single score to see what they're doing. What was Who's getting Terry and Corey? What are you guys getting so mad about out there? Let's sneak. Panthers did win. So what, they're 5-4? Okay, thank you, Dana. Hope you're doing well. Welcome in. And Dixon Way, thanks for stopping in, brother. It's good to see you. Such an unserious coaching staff. We still can't get the calls fast enough. Golly. Isn't that frustrating? No sense of urgency, either the time and the 2-minute drill or just in general. Who's going to argue with that? Again, it's the margins. It's the NFL wants every team to be 500. That's what they want. They want parity. They want a salary cap. They want to reward you for losing, so maybe you can get better. They want to punish you for winning, so maybe you'll not be as good. We want close games. It's a one-score league, man. Those one scores come down to a few key plays, clock management, penalties, special teams. Which one of those do you feel good about? Penalties. Falcons haven't had too many penalties. They haven't been overly penalized. Special teams has been a disaster for 2 years in a row. How did that not get changed over the offseason? Fan Talks saying, I think Robert Saleh will get another shot as head coach. Would be great with Ulbrich. Yeah. Do you need both of them though? They're kind of the same guy. I don't want Ulbrich to go anywhere. Yeah, but dude, it's got to be an offensive guy for me. It just does. Going back how long? Mike Smith, defense. It's hard to be consistent when you're having to change your offensive coordinator because Matt Ryan's making everybody in the world money because he was a really damn good quarterback. How many wide receivers did he get paid that never did as well anywhere else? Offensive coordinators get promotions. Moving on. Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, Raheem Morris, defense. If you're going to have any continuity year from year, I think you got to have an offensive coach. Arthur Smith, offensive coach, sorta. He's old school, run the ball down your throat. He's sort of. He's a defensive coach who is an offensive lineman playing offense on that one. Let's see. Guys, Terry and Corey, you guys don't go at each other. You're both really good members here. I hate to put you both in timeout. Be nice. Matt Services, thank you for being a member again. He says, pay Sean McVay a record high and get him to come home. He's from Marist. He's from Atlanta. That ain't going to happen, though. I think he is pretty happy out there in L.A. We haven't had a good offense since Kyle. Speaking of Dana, speaking of embarrassing statements, was Raheem Morris going on, 790, going out there and saying I think this is the best offense the Falcons have had since 2016. Now, too many people didn't read the since part. 2018 offense was pretty good, but this was the lowest scoring offense, including today, the lowest scoring offense since Bobby Petrino thought he had Michael Vick and ended up with Joey Harrington, Chris Redman, and Byron Leftwich. And they scored, 16.2 points per game? I think the Falcons were just under 18 coming into this one. So lowest scoring offense they've had since that Bobby Petrino stuff goes. Mike said, I'm so sick of this team. Let's see here. And Carrie, good to see you coming in a little bit late. I'm about to call it a day and get back to this. She says, hey, Scott, I'm so disappointed. I get you, Carrie, and I know. And are you going out to Germany next week? Have a hell of a time. I know you've been talking back and forth with some people who are heading out there. Enjoy the trip. Again, this team, we joked about it, and it kind of felt like it was going to come true. The Falcons will do something like beat Indianapolis and New England and then go out there and lose their next 3 to New Orleans, at New York Jets, and Panthers at home. The only thing predictable is that it's not even unpredictable anymore, is it? Can't we predict this stuff? They're going to fall flat. They're going to play pretty well against good teams, and they're going to fall flat against the bad teams. What's that come down to? Trent says, I want Byron Leftwich. Makes sense to me. Austin said, I'm scared for Michael Penix's development, to be honest. I think that's fair. And it's got to be, if I'm in charge of the Atlanta Falcons on a macro level, my next hire has to be with him in mind. who has developed quarterbacks. Has to be. Jacob. He is going to Arizona. That's towards, what's that, right before Christmas at Arizona. Weather ought to be good for you out there, so good luck. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. Got over 300 people watching this gut reaction. I know you're frustrated. It's frustrating to watch. When you can have some breakout performances and play well in several phases and still lose because you can't put a complete game together, it's incredibly frustrating. It is, and it's some of the same mistakes that keep turning up. Special teams, clock management are two of the big ones. On a macro level, again, on a higher level, Zach Robinson and the offense, guys, I know he's not going to be here next year. I will be absolutely shocked. The shelf life on 95% of offensive coordinators is 2 years. His 2 years are going to be up. One way or another, his 2 years are going to be up. But I want to say thank you to those of y'all who came in with supers and became a new member. Matt is a member and a super. Devron, thank you for joining, and appreciate you joining and becoming a new member. Rusty coming in a couple times. Michael Baxter, Larry, Beasley, Maurice coming in yellow. Michael Baxter a couple times. Corey, Robbie, thanks for coming in. Sorry I missed that the first time. And Final Boss Emperor, thank you for supporting the show. I will not be here for a gut reaction next week for the Germany game. I'm traveling for baseball/school camp at the Air Force Academy. So how cool is that? That is a big deal in the Kennedy household. So wish us luck out there in Colorado Springs. Get someone into the Air Force and I'll feel like a good dad. So thank you so much. I will not be here, but we will be back tomorrow. Be back in the morning. Take a look at some of the things. We'll go a little deeper. It won't be quite as an emotional reaction. It will be an aftermath. We'll break down some of the things. We'll look forward. Some of the things that can and should change, obviously. But I'm going to get out of here. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate you being here. Y'all have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon, and we'll see y'all tomorrow morning.